I wanted to try and get this off if I could, and when I moved it I noticed it was only held in by the centre peg. So really carefully, little tiny bit at a time, managed to get a screwdriver down both sides and lever that centre bit out. It's really fragile, these. 9 times out of 10 they're broken on these pegs. People try and glue them back and all sorts of stuff, but the only way to do it is to take them out and put a little dab of super glue on all of the pegs that are in there. Don't try taking them out, and it will glue back pretty good right on top of the old plastic pegs. So to make sure I get it the right way round. So yeah, I thought, because as I say, if you look at the muck behind that, this has had it, unfortunately. I was going to try and just draw through it with a Sharpie pen or something, just to colour in the where it's sun faded, but it's going to get the same treatment as the front grille. I'm going to put some new cloth behind that, and that'll be a job well done. Okay, I'm just cutting out a rectangle from my speaker cloth. I was going to try and do it with the cutting blade, but the trouble is it's very stretchy material. Cut in the middle there to just let that through, hopefully. There we go. Brilliant. Much better. So, how to fix it? Glue is one choice, but that is messy. I think I'm going to go with some double-sided tape. So what I'm going to attempt to do is just cut a very fine slither of this. I'm going to stick it there like that. Actually, I won't fully stick it on yet till I've done all of the sides. So I'm just going to carry on and do that in a minute. I'm just going to go all the way around with this. Okay. I've got masking double-sided tape all round. So I'm just going to attempt to stick this on. As I say, it's new territory for me. Got to try these things. Just hoping it's strong enough to hold the material, really. Should be. Yeah. So just stretching it a little tiny bit. I don't want to go mad with it. Nice. Okay, yeah, I was looking at the battery tray and I've decided to, rather than try and spend hours messing with the original one that's come out of here, I've got another one out of a project radio that's never really taken off. One of them projects that's never happened. An old Black Knight, which needs quite a lot of work. So I've pinched a couple of things from that. I've pinched the aerial, because that's exactly the same as a Sovereign aerial, and the aerial in this wasn't an original Super Sovereign aerial. And obviously this battery tray. Now the labels are not stuck down pretty much at all here, so I'm just putting a little bit of copy decks in the bottom, which is just like a normal craft adhesive. It's nothing too aggressive. It's for sticking paper into scrapbooks, that sort of thing, so it's perfect for this job, and it'll retain the originality of these. I don't want to use anything too drastic, but they do need sticking down because they're covered in dust and peeling off, so I'm going to stick them down with that. And 15 to 20 minutes later we should have nicely stuck labels. The reason I've chosen this one is because it's still got the battery contacts on the end. These do pull away, so really if you have got one of these radios and it is plugged in, you should have something sort of similar to this attached to it, positive and negative. Then leave it attached, do not detach it. So I'm going to put one of these in because it's long gone out of this one. From memory, what I've got is, yeah, I've just got two open-ended cables there, so I need to get that sorted and solder this on. Then we'll be back in business. One other thing that I did while I had the labels out was I took the opportunity of scanning it. So there we have a replacement label. So anybody wants a copy of that, let me know and I shall email it across. Yeah, that's good to go. Okay, just getting ready for coat number 2 on the Danish oil. Not on the Danish oil, on the woodwork. The sides of the RP75 Super Sovereign. So again, getting it nice and wet. The first coat really has just sealed it in. The second one, if you just want like a silk finish, then 2 coats is enough. We're going to go for 3, give it a really nice sheen. Certainly is a lovely bit of timber, this. And the grain on this particular side is exceptional. There we go. Well, I got up early this morning and put the last coat of Danish oil on here, and certainly has worked wonders. Let's get you down there. You can see there's a nice sheen on those now, so that's absolutely bang on. So I'm going to put them aside to thoroughly dry out for the rest of the day probably, and crack on and start reassembling really. I've got to stick some bits together back on the back panel, but I'm going to crack on with that next. So as I say, that's the finish, and that's 3 coats of Danish oil. Okay, I'm now working on the back panel. Now up in the top corner here there's a piece of Rexine just hanging off. If you can see that, let's just zoom in a little bit. There we go. So this piece here was just hanging off and it was all ripped and pretty manky. So what I'm doing, I'm just cutting a patch out of another piece of Rexine, and that's going to go back in, butted up against it. As I say, this is the bottom of the case. I don't suppose it's that important, but I do like to have it nice. So that is going to be glued back on there with some PVA. This is fractionally long at the moment, so just got to cut a little tiny bit more off. Alright, I'm going to try not to use too much of this. Just going to just pop a little bit out. Bit of a wonky cocktail stick there. I need to make sure these edges are glued back down, so I'm going to tape it off in all directions. Just need a bit in there. What else have we got over here? Corners lifted again. Wipe off the excess with a wet cloth. Let's do my little patch. Right. Masking tape. Typical, can't get it off with my gloves on. Should hold that bit in. Tighten that right down there. There we go, that's that. And my other bit here. So again, rip this stuff even. That's that. Let's do a little bit more in there. over. There we go, that's those two edges done. So I've got to re-stick this edge, but I'll wait 20 minutes for that to start tacking up before I do that. That's that bit done. Okay, hacker badge time. Now you can see it's all nice and dry. What I've got to try and do now is just take the paint off of the lettering and the surround. I need to keep the black around that piece and the black inside the lettering. So I'm going to use some wet and dry paper on this first one. I've got two to experiment on. So they both come out pretty well. Nothing to choose between them really. See, we've got the two. So let's saturate this. Let's give it a go. Get in there. Got some bits on the table there. It's really dead flat, it's not any bits on it anyway. Oh, there we are. That actually works really well. Not quite there yet. Fraction more. There we go. I'll just wash that off a minute and I'll bring it back and show you. There we are. One hacker badge that looks absolutely brand new. Still a little bit damp, but that really has come up a treat. Very pleased with that. As I say, it's still got the paint all around the edges, which it should have. And obviously filled in behind the lettering. Really pleased with that. Excellent. There we go. So, before and after that. So let's get this one done now. Then I've got a pair, because I've got plenty of other radios that benefit from a nice new hacker badge. Okay. Carrying on, I've got a bit of tarnish on the handle here. A little bit of rust coming through. Unfortunately you can't remove it totally, but you can have a good go at it. I'm just going to be using a bit of metal wadding. I mean, this is Brasso, but Duraclip, something like that, anything like that. Okay, well I've got them as best as I can. They have come up a lot better, I must admit. So yeah, still a little bit of pitting on them, but you can't get rid of the pitting unfortunately because it's in the metal itself. Certainly that looks pretty presentable, so I'm happy with that. Just got to get this now into the foam cleaner and get it shiny. Okay, next up is the battery tray. And so that's all nicely set now. So basically this is missing off of the set at the moment, so that just clips in there and allows the battery tray to be taken out. So all I'm going to do is strip back these wires, and I'm going to join them up, and not forgetting a bit of heat shrink to just seal everything up afterwards. I'll probably cut these back a bit actually rather than those. So let's cut that back a bit. Don't leave it too short. So bare the ends of these. Don't forget to put the heat shrink on. You can see what I'm up to here. I'm getting a little bit closer. I say originally this would have had a fibre battery clip, but this is a brand new one I got here, so treating it to a nice new one. So how are we going to do this then? I do want to get a pretty good joint here, because it will be under a little bit of pressure. No, I think it's going to be a twist together job. It's going to be about as strong as I'm going to get it. Let's get my third hand tool back out of its little sleeping bag. With its newly modified black clips. Okay, so a bit of solder. Make sure that's flowed right in. That's that one. So let that cool down. Let's do the negative. Same again. Twist them nice and tight. We'll give it a blob of flux because the existing hacker wire is pretty old. I'll just clean it up a little bit as it goes. There we are. So, we'll straighten these up a little bit and get the heat shrink over them. Hopefully you can see what I'm up to. No, you can't. Let's get that out of the way. So all I'm doing is just pushing the heat shrink down over the tags. Right, hot air gun. Let's put it on. There we go, job done. You can see that, yeah, there we go. All sorted. So that cool down. And another job done. Certainly taking its time, this job, I must admit. So, certainly getting there anyway. Okay, just a quick reveal after the tapes come off. All the corners are very nicely stuck back. Obviously I've got to glue this back on now, but I just thought I'd show you how it was going so far. And on the other side with my little patch, again, that's all looking really good. As I say, we'll give this a bit of boot black scuff coat afterwards anyway, just to bring it all together and cover the gaps up. But yeah, just got to pop a bit of glue down through this side now, and we can get on and pop the back grill back on. So there we go. Okay, I've started putting everything back together. Oop. Just thought I'd show you the antenna that I've robbed off of my Black Knight. It's obviously a swiveling, rotating. It's got a ball bearing in there. It's also got a pivot point here with another ball bearing, so we need to lubricate those. So I'm using my precision oiler again, just to put a little blob in there. That's a lot better. And in the ball bearing for the rotation. Has it got one or two? This one, just a one. So I just put a little tiny drop. This is real minute quantity. Just in those holes. Let's wipe the excess off. As for the aerial, I'm going to WD that one, WD-40. That's where it's quite good for this. So I'm going to get this aerial in the satin out of the way really. It's very rare to find an aerial for a Super Sovereign, as a few of my subscribers probably know. So I'm just going down through really and putting a squirt in each joint. And what I'm going to do with the rag soaked in it, I'm just going to run up and down to clean it. Get rid of the excess and then just give it a few. Nice. like new. So there we are. Happy with that. Actually, it should be okay with the oil in there. There we go. So I'm sort of not far off getting ready for a test of the chassis. So I've put my amp board back on. That's all back in on the better piece of timber. Still got a sponge there for the battery. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on these sliders so as they move around a bit better. A bit scratchy at the moment because of my nice new paint. I've also got to put a bit of tape around here when I've determined the actual position of this one. It's going to be around there somewhere. But say I won't set the height properly until I've got the top panel back on. So what else have I done? That's the aerial finish now. Another job ticked off the list. It's a massive great jigsaw puzzle this, put all this lot back together, I'll tell you. There's loads and loads of it. So the back panel, as you can see, I'm clamped up there. I've put the new cloth in behind. I put PVA on the centre one because it's still intact, and I've got super glue on the tags there. The insides come out of clamping, that's all finished. All nice and neat. So yeah, really getting there now. At the moment I've got all the knobs and that in soaking. They're having a good clean. So once I get them out, I can pop the top back on, put all the knobs back on, then we can give the chassis a test hopefully.